So what are these 5 components of an effective operating system? I'm going to use a somewhat tricky analogy of a road trip, which is if your company is a overall car that you're trying to drive to a beautiful destination. You just visualize in your mind whatever is that, somewhere in the mountains, beaches, seaside. So the first one is, of course, where do I want to go, which is the route map itself. And that's the strategy to execution piece. And strategy to execution is about the big moves. Here are the 2 or 3 things that will actually move your company from point A to point B. But how do you translate from something that 5 people at the top know to reliable execution where hundreds of team members on the floor know exactly what to do and know exactly how what they're doing is lining up with the company's overall goal? So I call this the floor test of strategy. If today you were to go to the floor and walk around and ask people, hey, what are you working on? And the person gives you an answer and you ask them question 2, how does what you're working on line up with where we're trying to go as a company? That's a wonderful way to know, is your strategy to execution machine working? The second one is execution rigor, which is okay, we're all trying to do the key initiatives that we are responsible for. But just like in a car, when you're driving the car, you're continuously looking at the dashboard, right? What's my speed? How much gas do I have in the tank? Am I actually going to get there? And do I need to do any course correction as I get there? This piece is the execution rigor piece. Part of the magic in execution rigor is to be able to know from inputs whether the outputs are going to be achieved. So the key one-line definition of rigor in execution is that you're not just looking at outcomes, revenue, profitability, NPS, or your major output metrics. You actually know what inputs will drive it, and you have the mechanisms and infrastructure in place to monitor the inputs. So if inputs are getting missed, you know ahead of time that outputs are going to be missed. Do you have a mechanism in place where the inputs are telling you what you're going to miss? And do you have a team, in our view, that's the BizFin team, that can actually be the custodian of those input metrics? If not, this is a wonderful superpower to install and will only give you better and better returns over time. The third one is the people side of the equation. After your company crosses 100 people, your employee NPS falls by 10 to 15 points almost by default. As the company gets larger, by default, it becomes harder and harder to maintain alignment and motivation. And rule number 1 is over communication. All of you remember the good old days when it was just you and 15, 20 people building the company way back when? You never needed a review. Why? Because everyone knew all the time what was going on. Today, what mechanisms do you have so that people feel that level of intimacy and understanding of what's going on and where the company is going? And there are some important choices to be made here, which is how much bad news do you share? How transparent are you with what is really going on? Translating customer experience from passion to systems. The question is, do you have the systems in place which automatically catch and fix customer experience related problems? Otherwise, this is one of the most expensive issues to try and scale a company with. And this is something like hitting a pothole. You're cruising along at 100 kilometers per hour on a beautiful freeway, and you're not thinking about it, but when you hit the pothole, the wheels come off. And that's the most unpleasant experience. So customer experience is a little bit like that, which is making a defect-free experience part and parcel of how you function as a company for all your customers. So the 5th point is about people systems becoming habits in your company. But things like manifesto, hiring, staffing, performance management, these are just things that you've defined so deeply and so well that every time it's done, it's automatically done in the right way. As you look at this list, where do you feel you are as founders, and which of these is most top of mind for you as you think about the important systems for your company?